right. And so we're going to find common ground there.
This guy has been elected. He's a Republican from Louisiana. I don't know much about him.
I want to express my great thanks for our Speaker Emeritus, Kevin McCarthy. Kevin has dedicated over 2 decades of his life to selfless public service, 16 of those years in this House. And you would be hard-pressed to find anybody who loves this institution more or has contributed more to it. He is the reason we're in this majority today.
No, he's not. Not even close. He's the reason why majority was the red wave was a red trickle.
His impact can never be overstated, and I want to thank him for his leadership, his friendship, and the selfless sacrifice that you and Judy have made for so many years. You helped build it, Kevin, and we owe you a great debt of gratitude. I want to thank the dedicated and overworked staff of this beleaguered House.
Now, I wonder if he's going to hire the same guy that's been the communications director for the other 3 speakers. That would be Caleb Smith, I think is his name. I hope not.
They accept praise so stoically. But Miss Susan Cole, our House reading clerk, and yes.
Again, I was talking about other issues. I was going to briefly mention this.
All the clerks and all the staff, you know, they're terribly overworked. This has been a grueling process, but they have served an integral role in keeping our republic, and we thank them for that service. I know we all do. I want to thank my dedicated wife of almost 25 years, Kelly. She's not here. We couldn't get a flight in time. This happened sort of suddenly. But we're going to celebrate soon. She spent the last couple of weeks on her knees in prayer to the Lord, and she's a little worn out. We all are. I want to thank our children, Michael and Hannah and Abby and Jack and Will. All of our children sacrifice. All of them do, and we know that. And there's not a lot of perks to being a member of Congress's kid, right? And so
okay, folks,
I want to thank all your families as well for what they endure and what they've had to endure for the last few weeks. We've been here a while.
You can hear me on Podbean or not.
Yeah.
Let me crank up the volume so you can hear.
I want to thank my faithful mother, Jeannie Johnson, who bore me at the age of 17. And my brothers Chris and Josh and my sister Laura and all their families and all of our extended family. In Louisiana, family's a big deal, and we got a bunch of them. I especially want to thank all the extraordinary people of the great state of Louisiana. We have never had a Speaker of the House hail from our state, and so they've been lifting us up. I thank the people of Louisiana for the opportunity to serve you in Congress, and I'm humbled by your continuous support. We will make you proud. To my colleagues, I want to thank you all for the trust that you have instilled in me to lead us in this historic and unprecedented moment that we're in. The challenge before us is great, but the time for action is now, and I will not let you down.
Let's see if I can get some information on this Mike
Here. We hear
Johnson
you.
Guy.
We know the to say to the American people on behalf of all of us here. We hear you. We know the challenges you're facing. We know that that there's a lot going on in our country, domestically and abroad, and we are ready to get to work again to solve those problems, and we will. Our mission here is to serve you well, to restore the people's faith in this House, in this great and essential institution. My dad, it was mentioned, my dad was a firefighter. He was an assistant chief in the fire department in my hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana, a little town in northwest Louisiana. On September 17, 1984, when I was 12 years old, he was critically burned and permanently disabled in the line of duty.
Okay, statement
all I
from
ever
Matt
wanted
Gates,
to be when I grew up
was
the chief of the fire department in Shreveport.
But
after the explosion on that fateful day, he nearly died, and it was a long road back. And it's changed all of our
That's why
life
all Americans should be
trajectories. I'm
excited
the
about
oldest
the
of 4
ascendance
kids.
of Representative Mike Johnson.
And my dad,
he
he lived with pain all the rest of his life for decades more. And I lost my dad to cancer 3 days before I got elected to Congress. 3 days. And he wanted to be there at my election night so badly. I'm the first college graduate in my family. This was a big deal to him.
Is saying Representative Mike Johnson will
so
be
several weeks after that, it was early 2017. And
there's people posting
it was my freshman term,
but that Mike Johnson
it fell
was
to
MAGA.
me to be in the rostrum one night to serve here as Speaker Pro Tem. I thought that was a big deal until I figured out that's what you do for freshmen late at night.
Adam Schiff doesn't like him.
And I think if my memory serves, Miss Jackson Lee
was all over the place.
Was winding down one of her long, eloquent speeches. And not that I was not enraptured by her speech, but I looked up at the top of the chamber there, and I saw the face of Moses staring down. And I just felt in that moment the weight of this place.
He won by 220 votes.
The history that is revered here and the future that we are called to forge. And I really was just kind of almost overwhelmed with emotion. It occurred to me in that moment, it had been several weeks, and I had not had an opportunity yet to grieve my dad's passing, and I just had this sense that somehow he knew.
Green voted for Mark Johnson.
And I had tears come to my eyes, and I was standing here, and I'm wiping them away, and then it suddenly occurs to me,
Truth Social seem to
the late-night C-SPAN viewers are going to think something's very wrong with the new young congressman from Louisiana. It wasn't Sheila's speech. I'm sorry. I just knew in that moment that my dad, my father, would be proud of me, and I felt that he was. And I think all of our parents are proud of what we're called to do here. I think all the American people at one time had great pride in this institution, but right now, that's in jeopardy. And we have a challenge before us right now to rebuild and restore that trust. This is a beautiful country. It's the beauty of America that allows a firefighter's kid like me to come here and serve in this sacred chamber where great men and women have served before all of us and strive together to build and then preserve what Lincoln did refer to as the last best hope of man on earth. We stand at a very dangerous time. I'm stating the obvious. We all know that. The world is in turmoil. But a strong America is good for the entire world.
We do not have a strong America right now.
We are the beacon of freedom, and we must preserve this grand experiment in self-governance. It still is. We're only 247 years into this grand experiment. We don't know how long it will last, but we do know that the founders told us to take good care of it. I want to tell all my colleagues here what I told the Republicans in that room last night. I don't believe there are any coincidences in a matter like this. I believe that Scripture, the Bible, is very clear. That God is the one that raises up those in authority. He raised up each of you, all of us. And I believe that God has ordained and allowed each one of us to be brought here for this specific moment in this time. This is my belief. I believe that each one of us has a huge responsibility today to use the gifts that God has given us to serve the extraordinary people of this great country, and they deserve it. And to ensure that our republic remains standing as the great beacon of light and hope and freedom in a world that desperately needs it. It was in 1962 that our national motto, "In God We Trust," was adorned above this rostrum. And if you look at the little guide that they give tourists and constituents who come and visit the house, if you turn in there to about page 14 in the middle of that guide, it tells you the history of this. And it says very simply, these words begins with the premise that there is no God. This is a critical distinction that is also articulated in our nation's birth certificate. We know the language well. The famous second paragraph that we used to have children memorize in school, and they don't do that so often anymore, but they should. G.K. Chesterton was the famous
buffering under C-SPAN
in school, and they don't do that so often anymore, but they should. G.K. Chesterton was the famous British philosopher and statesman, and he said one time, America is the only nation in the world that is founded upon a creed. And he said it's listed with almost theological lucidity in the Declaration of Independence. What is our creed? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, not born equal, created equal. And they are endowed by the same inalienable rights, with the same inalienable rights: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. That is the creed that has animated our nation since its founding, that has made us the great nation that we are. And we're in a time of extraordinary crisis right now. And the world needs us to be strong. They need us to remember our creed and our admonition. Turmoil and violence have rocked the Middle East and Eastern Europe. We all know it. And tensions continue to build in the Indo-Pacific. The country demands strong leadership of this body, and we must not waver. Our nation's greatest ally in the Middle East is under attack. The first bill that I'm going to bring to this floor in just a little while will be in support of our dear friend Israel, and we're overdue in getting that done. We're going to show not only Israel, but the entire world,
now, is it going to include
that the
funding for Ukraine?
barbarism of Hamas that we have all seen play out on our television screens is wretched and wrong, and we are going to stand for the good in that conflict. We have a catastrophe at our southern border. The Senate and the White House can no longer ignore the problem. From Texas to New York, wave after wave of illegal migrants are stressing our communities to their breaking points. We know that our streets are being flooded with fentanyl, and all of our communities, children, and even adults are dying from it. The status quo is unacceptable. Inaction is unacceptable, and we must come together and address the broken border. We have to do it.
Notice one side standing up, the other
The
sitting down.
cost of
Regarding
living is
the border,
unsustainable, and Americans should not have to worry about how they're going to feed their family every week because they can't afford their groceries anymore. Everybody in this room should think about
not know this.
Here's the
happen.
stats.
This breaking
Prices
news.
have increased over 17% in the last 2 years. Credit card interest rates are at the highest level in nearly 3 decades, and mortage rates are now at a peak we haven't seen since 2001.
Mike Johnson of Louisiana
We have to
House
bring
Speaker.
relief to the American people
There are some
by
folks that say
reining
he is
in
a
federal
conservative.
spending
I
and bringing down inflation.
honestly don't know, but that's...
The greatest threat to our national security is our nation's debt. And while we've been sitting in this room, that's right, the debt has crossed almost $33.6 trillion. In the time that it's going to take me to deliver this speech, we'll go up another $20 million in debt. It's unsustainable. We have to get the country back on track. Now, we know this is not going to be an easy task, and tough decisions will have to be made. But the consequences, if we don't act now, are unbearable. We have a duty to the American people to explain this to them so they understand it well. And we are going to establish a bipartisan debt commission to begin working on this crisis immediately. Immediately.
We need to cut the subsidies for green energy. We need to stop spending money on things like Ukraine.
We all
Lots
know
of
that
things
we
we
also
need to
live
do
in
to
a
get
time
rid
of
of our
bitter
debt.
partisanship. It was noted. And it's been on display here today, right? When our people are losing their faith in government, when they're losing sight of the principles that made us the greatest nation in the history of the world, I think we got to be mindful of that. We're going to fight. We're going to fight vigorously over our core principles because they're at odds a lot of times now in this modern era. We have to sacrifice sometimes our preferences because that's what's necessary in a legislative body.
At odds. I mean,
But we will
it's
defend our
just
core
opposite.
principles to the end. In his farewell address, thank you.
Mullah Omar, the Somali
In his farewell address, President
in Congress
Reagan
wants to destroy Israel.
explained
There's
the
no
secret of his
negotiating
rapport
with
with
that.
people. And I like to paraphrase his explanation all the time. He said, you know, they call me the great communicator, but I really wasn't that. He said, I was just communicating great things. And they're the same great things that have guided our nation since its founding. What are those great things? I call them the rule of law.
Again,
Peace through
breaking
strength,
news, and I'll put this
fiscal
as
responsibility,
a YouTube
free
video in a
markets,
little bit.
and human dignity. Those are the foundations that made us the extraordinary nation that we are. And you and I today are the stewards of those principles. The things that have made us the freest, most powerful, most successful nation in the history of the world. The things that have made us truly exceptional. In this time of great crisis, it is our duty to work together, as previous generations of great leaders have, to face these great challenges and solve these great problems. I will conclude with this. The job of the Speaker of the House is to serve the whole body, and I will. But I've made a commitment to my colleagues here that this Speaker's office is going to be known for decentralizing the power here. My office is going to be known for members being more involved and having more influence in our processes and all the major decisions that are made here, for predictable processes and regular order.
Tea Party Patriots
We owe that to the
Action,
people.
another PAC is
Right.
congratulating Mike Johnson. Seems
And I
overall a
want
lot
to
of
make this
the
commitment to
conservatives
you,
seem
to
to be
my
liking
colleagues
him.
here and on the other side of the aisle as well. My office is going to be known for trust and transparency and accountability, for good stewardship of the people's treasure, for the honesty and integrity that is incumbent upon us, all of us, here in the people's house. Our system of government is not a perfect system. It's got a lot of challenges, but it is still the best one in the world, and we have an opportunity to preserve it. Last thing I'm going to say is a message to the rest of the world. They have been watching this drama play out for a few weeks. We've learned a lot of lessons, but you know what? Through adversity, it makes you stronger. And yeah. And we want our allies around the world to know that this body of lawmakers is reporting again to our duty stations.
Oh,
Let the
great.
enemies of freedom around the world
So we'll
hear
have
us
to
loud and clear.
Oh,
the
boy.
People's House is back in business.
Business to do what remains to be seen, because so far it has not been, it's been a failure, and it's actually been better that they not be in business. Just like it would be better if the government was shut down. Well, folks, that's the speech there. I have a lot of
We will do
non-political
our
stuff to
duty
get
here.
to.
We will serve you well. We
That
will
you can
govern
listen to
well,
the rest of
and
this.
we'll make
I'm
you
going to
proud
post a
of this
recording of this
institution
on
again.
Just
We're
Our
gonna-
Angle
we're gonna
YouTube
fight every
page.
day to make sure that is true. I
But
look
I
forward to
actually
the days
do have
ahead.
a lot of things
I
to take
genuinely
care of.
believe in my
So,
heart that the best
y'all follow me at
days
Just
of
Our
America
Angle
are still ahead of us. God bless you.
on
God bless the
YouTube,
United States of America.
Rumble,
Thank
where I
you.
do this live stream, as well as my Facebook page. You've seen the links there. And then, of course, there are also the donation links, if you like what you see. I do Cash App,
Thank you.
Fundly, and PayPal, and other means
I'm now ready to take the oath of
finance
office.
this.
And I ask the
Anyway,
Dean of the House of Representatives,
y'all enjoy the rest of your
Honorable
day.
Harold Rogers of Kentucky,
I'll
to please administer.
try to
the oath
see
of
about
office.
what's going on tomorrow in
Mr.
Jasper, and
Speaker
then
Designee,
keep an eye on what's going on in Congress.
Congratulations on your election.
Thank you, sir.
They're going to do the oath of office.
When our
You'll
founding
see that
fathers
before. All right.
Chose
Oh, good one.
a bold, new, and innovative fathers chose a bold, new, and innovative new self-rule government. It was met by deep skepticism by the world's monarchs. They said self-rule